Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
With something like 5 million podcasts, finding a really good one can take a ton of time. So let me recommend one. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in each episode, we discuss topics that can be really helpful, like how to read people better, the psychology of crowds, or fun things like the story of Legos, or why you probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for horses. Something You Should Know is the name of it, wherever you get your podcasts.
What's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey y'all, I'm JJ.
Hey guys, it's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests who share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to like speak of them or talk about them or in any way like portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. Like, it would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Don't Blame Me. You are joined by me. My name is Megan, joined with my co-host, Melisa D. Monts.
Hello. Thank you for saying my full name.
You're welcome. I was going to say Melisa D. Little Monster because I did see a great tweet about how like we went from having a monster in the White House to having a little monster because Lady Gaga performed.
Mm-hmm. I saw that too. I chuckled a little bit.
It made me giggle. Welcome to Don't Blame Me. This is an advice podcast where we give you fantastic advice. And how do we know it's fantastic? Because we said it is. Now sit down and listen.
When you're here, what we say is Bible.
Fucking goes. Yes. Literally, you're in our house now. Buckle up, sweet cheeks. Okay? Okay. This is an advice podcast, and we have no credentials to give advice. To be fair, does anyone need credentials to give advice?
We've been doing it for years, so I feel like we have some professional like ads support this show. So therefore, if you're getting paid by something, it makes you a professional. So like we are professional advice givers.
So how soon till we get our honorary doctorates? Because you know I want one.
I know you want one. I think we either need to do a lot of volunteer work at a university or like donate money. Or I don't know if some of our listeners have like a pool. Maybe they can help.
All I want is to have an honorary doctorate without having my undergraduate degree. Like I think that would happen. I know, but I just think that would be very fitting for me that I would have an honorary degree because I didn't even do the real one. I would love it. Oh, but if you want to call in for an episode, give us a ring-a-ding. Leave us a voicemail at 310-694-0976. And international listeners, you can record an audio message and then email it to us at meghanpodcast@gmail.com. As always, got to be 18 or over. Have your parents' permission to call. And keep it under 3 minutes. Otherwise, you'll be cut off. Write it down. Practice. Make sure everything that you need to say, you can get there in that time limit. And try not to forget any details because the details are important to us. That the details that are important and the details that are not important are not important.
Wow, like that was deep. That was so deep.
Honorary doctorate, here I fucking come. I would die. So what's new with you? How are you?
I'm good. I mean, it's been raining today. It's chilly. I just feel elated.
Because of the rain?
The rain really I wanted to stay in bed all day. As you know, I sent you a picture 10 minutes before we started recording. You were like, my hair is still wet. And I was like, I haven't got out the bed yet. So,
and I was also still the one who was later.
I was here on time still.
Yeah, that was impressive.
Yeah. But just looking forward to the future, with my business, because I just feel like the day is coming where I only have to work 40 hours a week, and that has been bringing me a lot of joy.
What will you do with all of that extra time?
Sleep. I mean, I only sleep 3 or 4 hours a day.
I know.
So I mostly sleep and maybe watch all the television that everybody's talking about, get back into my writing, which I've neglected. So we'll see.
No, I'm excited for you. I think it's going to be a little bit of a shock for you, though.
I know it's going to be.
You've worked so long for this has been your constant for so long.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna be I think it'll be liberating. I think you'll have a period of liberating. And then it will be really liberating.
Mm-hmm. It'll be I don't know what to do with my time. Oh, maybe just sit there and don't do anything. Or just
as someone who does that a lot.
Yeah.
I can give you lots of tips.
Thank you.
We start all of our episodes with an update. So that's today is no different, everybody. It's just another
sometimes
Monday.
It's Saturday, but sometimes it's at the end of but the episode comes out on Monday. Gotcha. Sorry. Shut up, Megan. Shut up, Melissa, I should say. But sometimes the updates come at the end.
That is true. But we've got our regular format this time.
Yeah. So this one is from season 7, episode 3. Let's get into it.
So my original call was about my best friend who left his toxic relationship with, not a good person. And we FaceTimed. And when we FaceTimed, my best friend and I, he said that he was not in a good place at that point. And he said that he would maybe want to get back together with his ex just to play around and play with his feelings, because he was just so hurt by what happened in the relationship and everything. And I know, and you mentioned that in the my first call, that my friend is definitely not the sole victim, and he knows that. We talked about that, and I also talked about him not ending it sooner, because there were so many moments where they could have just ended it, and they did. They had an on-off thing, but I think you just always go back to those relationships because they mess with you. Mm-hmm. So yeah, my question in the first call was just I don't really know. I don't really know what advice I need. I just basically needed to say it all because I needed to talk to someone who didn't know either of them. And all my friends know them. We do have an update, which is they're not back together, so that's good. His ex, his ex's mom was diagnosed with cancer just a little while ago. And since my best friend's mom died of cancer, he just knew what was happening, and he knew how that must feel. And so his ex reached out to him telling him that his mom has cancer because he needed someone to watch the dog, because he doesn't have any friends. He doesn't have any friends where he lives. He in general doesn't really have a lot of friends, which I think is a bit telling already when you don't have. And it is really hard. I tried to be friends with him. I couldn't. I don't know. I can't even really explain it or pin down what it is that just
toxic person. Yeah.
Yeah. It just doesn't work. My friend was like, okay, I'll take the dog. Don't worry about it. That's fine. How long do you need me to watch him? It's about a week, probably. And they did. So they did that. And I didn't know about that agreement until I was talking to my friend on FaceTime and I saw the dog. And I was like, what the fuck? What did you do? Did you take the dog? Because they don't live that far away from each other. So I'm like, did you take the dog? So I like jumped to conclusions and I was like so mad at him. And I was like, you can't do that. You're gonna get in big trouble. It's not okay. And I wouldn't let him talk.
And they were in the US, right?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. When he brought the dog back to his ex, so he was like, okay, let's just sit down and like try and talk like, civilized people do.
I mean, he's had the dog, so.
Yeah, so the dog is getting older. I think she's about like around 13, maybe 14 already. And so my friend was like just telling him that, and then he's like a little concerned. And apparently that just set off his ex, and he was like it was just insane again. And he was like telling him all those things, and he should have never asked him to even watch the dog, and why is he even doing that? And then he said like a couple hurtful things. Especially, and I think I mentioned that in my first call, my friend gained some weight also over like during the pandemic and just before. It was just like a few very hard years for him with like losing his mom and everything. And so his ex like used that against him, which to me is just like fucked up. Like, don't do that. Don't ever do that. Like, and my friend at that point was like, you know what? Just fuck you. Like, I'm not putting up with this again, and I'm gonna leave. So he was about to leave, and his ex just like called a few other things. Like after he was already like walking away, he still called him a few other things, and like dumbass, asshole, and like all those like stupid things. And he just like at that moment he turned around and he looked at him like one last time, and he's like, I think I'm really done. Like I think I'm really just done with you. Because every single time, I mean, they didn't hang out at the start of the pandemic, and this was like the first time they actually like saw each other again because of the dog. And it's like, well, you didn't change, like you could have taken this time now where you really had time for yourself to work on yourself, because that's what he kept on saying. Like his ex was always about like, oh, I'm going to change, and it's going to be all fine, and I'm going to...
People that say that are lying just to keep you around. Anybody that's going to change, they're not going to announce it to the world. They're just going to be a better person.
Yeah, and it was... So his ex, it was probably like about a month after they broke up, he texted my friend, and he was like, I think I want to end my life. I was like, okay, like you're done. Why are you telling your ex who broke up with you that you want to end your life? Like that,
manipulative.
Not great. So then my friend texted me, and he's like, okay, he just said he wants to end his life. What am I doing? I'm like, well, I don't know. Talk to him if you feel like it. Don't if you don't. Like if you really think he's in danger, maybe reach out to one of his friends that you both know, which he ultimately did. And then his ex was hospitalized for a few days, and afterwards he even reached out to me saying like, oh, I think I have a plan about what I'm going to do with my life. I think I'm going to try and stay sober from now on. I think alcohol is a huge issue for me. And just like all those things. He's like, I'm going to do therapy, and I'm going to do this and that and that. I'm like, okay, great, cool. Like keep up with that. But he didn't. Of course not. I don't know. I understand my best friend for not wanting to engage with that anymore.
Well, it's also not recommended if you're getting sober to like be in relationships, especially relationships with people that you've hurt and are like actively hurting. Like you have to, get your shit together before you can like make amends. And he's just trying to like make statements as if those are making amends versus actually doing anything.
Yeah, he just wants attention. That's all.
Yeah. Did your friend get to take the dog forever? Did he take the dog?
No.
Damn it. This is like such a prime example of like when we say clean break, cut someone off, like take a fucking break and then you'll get over it. Like the whole thing that you've saying, like since the beginning, they've been on again, off again, both toxic for each other. And then like the pandemic happened. They didn't see each other for an extended period of time. He like, your friend like riled himself up, was like, I'm going to see him. Like, I'm going to like revenge. Like, I'm going to be like petty. And then you see that person and you realize that because you've taken that break, you're like, oh, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
and
like
that's where he's at now.
When you have that detachment, like you need that. Like when you are in a toxic relationship, it's impossible to see the other side until you have that break. You are like, you have to rid them that habit. Like you have to break the habit and that cycle. And you need that time and that space away before you're like, oh, wow, holy shit. Okay. Like not to relate it to like, you know, Olivia Rodrigo, Driver's License, fucking obsessed with that song. But I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait till you are fucking 19, 20 years old and you realize that like this boy is a piece of shit. But like when you're in that and you feel that like you can't, and like it's just like a natural thing that happens. Like you get in this like on again, off again, or like this push pull kind of thing. And until you have that like space away from that, you can't have that clarity. And I think the pandemic is forcing a lot of people to like have that like forced space and forced time away. And like we're hearing that with like people whose like friendships are like they're having friendships that are dissolving or relationships or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Which like, you know, I think it's of there are very few positives that I think have come out of this, but I think I think that's one that like a lot of people have been able to like, it's forced people to take some space when they wouldn't have made that choice for themselves and realize like, oh shit, I'm a lot better off without this fucking person.
Yeah.
So how are you? Because you had asked like, what should I do? So how are you doing?
Yeah.
So how's your friendship?
Oh, it's great. It's great. I did tell him, I was like, you do know that call that we had where he was like, oh, I might like fuck around with him. That upset me. Like that was bullshit. Like that was not cool. He apologized. And because at first I was like, did I really say that? And I was like, yeah, you did.
Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Of course. Oh, hot damn. I'm so glad that none of my friends are like this.
I just think that she's, you know, a good friend, but sometimes you have to distance yourself, which she physically did by moving to a different country in order to have more perspective.
Yeah. Normalize calling your friends out for doing toxic shit.
And that's what she did.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Should we get into the first call?
Yeah.
Hi, Megan and Melissa. I have a quick question. For a preface, I'm 25. I'm an Aquarius, and I just got out of a 4-year relationship. It ended pretty mutually. We just kind of figured out that we weren't meant to be together, so I'm ready to move on. My question is, what is the protocol nowadays with having photos of your ex on your Instagram or Facebook? I don't really get too emotionally connected to the photos with exes, so I'm not worried about, you know, those being gone forever, but I kind of just like the way I look in some of those photos, so I'm hesitating to delete them. In my past breakup years ago, I didn't delete any photos. They were pretty far back already, so I kind of just started to post new up-to-date photos of just me, and they went into the abyss and nobody really noticed them. Nowadays, I'm pretty inconsistent with, you know, my Instagram game. So I'm worried if I don't post a bunch of new photos, if somebody looks me up, maybe a guy that I was talking to on that front page, they might see a couple photos of me with my ex. So what do you think? How does this look to potential guys I may want to connect with? And what would you do? Thanks. Bye.
I have like very strong feelings about this, but I think we're going to have different. I think you don't care.
I don't. And I think that pictures are just like a timestamp of your life. And I think that it really doesn't matter. But also, I never post pictures with my significant other, so I don't have, so it doesn't matter for me. So
yeah.
But if I saw it on somebody else's page, I wouldn't care.
That's, I mean, I'm someone who like, I rarely like I think the only person I ever posted on Instagram, Monts was the first boyfriend I think the only guy I've ever posted, the only boyfriend I've ever posted on Instagram. I definitely did. Yeah. And that took like a year and some time, but, I just think in general, like, if you're not attached to the photos, I would just archive them, just because, like, I think if you're like going on dating apps and stuff, like people have so much free time at home and they're like swiping through and all of that kind of stuff. Like when I have friends who are like swiping through on a guy or whatever, and they like get his Instagram and they send it to me, and like the most recent photo is, or like there's a lot of recent photos with like their ex, and like there's not really a lot of stuff after that. Like it just gives pause. And I think right now there's not really, dating in a pandemic is really hard, and like things that give people pause, like no one's really taking the time to like, I don't know, like where it's like a conversation you have in person where it's like, oh yeah, I don't really use my Instagram, my ex is on here. I think it just, if you're not attached to them, I would just archive the photos. And then if you like in a couple months, you're like, you know what, like I want to put these back, like put them back up. But I would just like make a test of it and like see if like how your dating apps, like how that stuff is going, if it goes better once those photos are, if they're not there. Cause like you can't really know if people are taking into consideration until they're not there. Mm-hmm. Because I think there's like, I think it's very split. Like I know people who like immediately will delete everything, even if it was like a mutual breakup and like it's just cause they just like don't want that there. But then I know other people who also think of it kind of as like a timeline, and like this is just like, this was a time in my life, and you don't know you don't know who, like what those people are. And I think like you'll end up with someone who also doesn't give a shit, but like you don't necessarily know that right now. And I would just like test it out. Like it's not something that I personally like, but I'm also like an insecure person, which is again on me, that like if I like was like talking to a guy and like I scrolled back and like I could see all the pictures of him and like his ex like girlfriend, I would be like a little like, ugh, this is weird, but like I would move past it, but like it would definitely like, I would be a little like weirded out. But like I also think of Instagram very different than Facebook. Like Facebook, I'm sure Monts has pictures with his ex-girlfriend on Facebook. I've never looked, but like Instagram just feels a little bit different if you're using one of those dating apps that connects to your Instagram, because then you like scroll to the bottom of the dating app and it's like your most recent photos. If it's you and a dude, like sometimes people don't. But again, at the end of the day, like if people who don't take the time to like ask or like say that they feel uncomfortable, they're also not the right guy for you. So I think whatever choice you want to make is fine. Like, I think that's fine, but I would try it both ways for like a month or like a couple weeks and see if you're getting any different like interactions, and if like one you feel like is working better than the other. And also, did your ex delete pictures of you? Because I would then be petty. Like if he like archived all those pictures, I would just like probably either archive or re-upload cropped because you look so good. Make a collage of all the ones where you look so good in it. But I think it's also a good sign to see that you have like a help, like, you know what I mean? Like that to me also shows like confidence and maturity, that like you still have photos up with your ex and like you guys ended on good terms and like there's no hard feelings and it's totally fine. Like that's like a big turn on. It's just a matter of like finding the right guy who cares enough to ask and doesn't just assume like, oh, she's not over him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it's either a good way to weed out guys who are not for you, or it's.
How would you feel? Like not you, Megan, but caller. She's an Aquarius.
That's
like
what I'm curious.
Like, how would you feel if you saw somebody else's pictures on, like, with their exes on their dating apps?
I don't think she'd care.
I don't think she'd care either. And so I think, like,
there's a pot for every lid.
Yeah, there's a pot for every lid, and you'd probably want to be. There's a
live forever pot.
You'd probably want to be with somebody else that just doesn't care.
Yeah. So I think it is a good way to like weed out those people. But if you're also like not in the time, if you're not in like the place where you like want to date and you just want to like flirt and talk to people, if you feel like it's hindering that, like then take it out for a while and then like get your flirt on and have fun. And if you want to like get into another relationship eventually, like put them back up. And like that is kind of a good way to weed out people who aren't like that and people who aren't kind of comfortable and chill, which is again, fine. I'm someone who's like not comfortable or chill with that. And like, I found someone, like, it's great. Like there's no right or wrong way to go about it. You just gotta find your lid or your pot. Yeah. Both of our faces were like, this is not right. Wow.
All right. On to the next one.
Hi, Megan and Melissa. I am a Gemini and I am 27 years old. So I have a weird question. Basically, this guy and I have known each other for about 2 years before anything started happening. We are both part of the same nonprofit. We both experienced a different trauma, but under the same umbrella. So that's how we're in the same group. But basically, he is almost 40. And things started happening with him at an event that we were at together. That was back in September, and things are still going on, and it is almost February now. But the problem is that since he's older, he doesn't want children, and I do. And lately, things have just kind of come to a head with that. But I'm usually super picky, and I don't like anybody, and I actually like him. So I know that you guys are probably going to tell me that I just need to cut it off. But it's COVID, and where am I going to find anybody else? So I've kind of just been killing time and keeping my feelings out of distance. But lately I haven't been able to do that. We've been having some serious talks and just trying to figure things out. So yeah, just really looking for some advice and trying to figure out what the hell I should do about this, because I actually do really like him. And he really likes me, but, you know, kids are just a big thing. And in the beginning, I thought he said he did want kids, but it turns out that he was saying he was open to people having kids, not necessarily that he wanted to have kids himself because of his age. So, yeah, hopefully you guys give me some advice. Also, I'm a counselor at a school, so I kind of already know what you're going to say. I just guess I need some validation or an ass kicking here. Love the podcast. Bye.
There's only two options. Either we tell you what you know we're going to tell you, and the only other thing we can say is you should settle and don't have kids.
Yeah. And just because we're in a pandemic doesn't mean that you have to settle, like, or be with anyone. I mean, like, for example, my friend this week was like, I met somebody I want to, or not met somebody they know that they want, like, to introduce me to. And I was like, are they in LA? And she's like, no, they're in Atlanta. I was like, why am I going to waste both of our time?
Yeah.
Like, don't waste your time just because you're lonely. You can be his friend. If that's what you're, just lonely and you just want to be his friend, then be his friend. But, like, why? And no, and don't. You can wait till the pandemic's over to find somebody.
I think people have this, like, doomsday mentality, and I would do an inventory of how many of your friends are single, how many are in relationships, because if it feels like all of your friends are in relationships or are married or anything like that, like, or even the people you follow on Instagram, like, you're just seeing a lot of that. I think a lot of people are treating this like the end of the world, and that, like, shit needs to get done now. Like, that this is, and I'm guilty of very much being like, this is going to be forever. Like, this is how the rest of the world, like, the rest of our lives are going to be. But when you think about it like that, it's so pessimistic, and that's not true. That's not what's going to happen. And then flash forward, let's say, like, 2 years or something, and you're like, what the fuck am I doing?
I don't even think she would make it to 2 years.
That's what I mean. Like, but I'm like, it's something that this is good on him for being honest up front that this is a deal breaker for him. There was some miscommunication at the start of, like, that conversation, but this is a deal. This is something that he doesn't want, and you never ever want to have kids with somebody who's having kids to make you happy. That does not a good parent make. Like, no, not at all. And even if you're picky, it only has to work out once. And this is not the one time because it's not working out. Like, I very much agree. Like, I hate everyone. I'm so fucking picky. Like, I literally hate every guy I've ever dated except for Monts. But it only has to work out one time. And it sucks because I think we've all been there where it is working out and like you think that this is like, oh my God, great. And then you hit that roadblock and that deal breaker and you're like, well, shit. And that's another case of it not working out. Not, oh, this is the right relationship. How can I make this work? It would just work. Like, this is not something that's fair for either of you to compromise on or appease the other one on, because it either is appeasing with having a kid with a dad who like does not want him. And like, I don't know what your home life situation is. And like, if you came from like two loving parents and like, you might not be able to fathom like, well, once he has a kid, like he will it's not how it goes.
That's not how you want your relationship to be at all. And also I think he has like a valid point that like he's older and he just doesn't want to be an old dad. It would be different if somebody is bringing, kids into the relationship because the kids would be older.
And you don't need to like convince anybody that's like, that those fears are not like that they can work around them. Like, if he wanted kids, there are lots of 40-year-old dudes who have kids. Yeah. If he wanted them, he would. This is the reason, but I'm sure it's not the only reason. And this is like his choice. And it's not like one of those things where it's like, oh, well, I want him. Like, no, he'll be such a good dad. And I know he would be. And like, the only thing holding him back is his age, but like we can do it and it'll be great. And like, it becomes romanticizing this narrative that he's not a part of. Like, that's not what he's saying. And just because that's maybe how you would feel is it's not reflective of how he feels at all. But I cut your losses now before you're getting even more invested, and spend your time getting back on dating apps and talking to people and messaging people, and like make sure on those dating apps you're filtering for people who want kids, and like have that conversation with people pretty early on. And it's not like a poll. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like there's only like one dude who wants to have kids and like it's the race to find him. Like, this guy exists out there. And just because you've been picky and you haven't liked any of these other people before, like, that's good. That's why. Like, they haven't been your person, and you'll meet your person. And they will tick all of the boxes that are important to you, and the deal breakers, you guys will be on the same page with all of that stuff. It's not as complicated as people make it out to seem. Like, relationships are hard, but the fundamentals of relationships should not be hard. Like, your moral stances, like any of those deal breaker things, like those are not things you should lose sleep over at all with a partner. Like, the day-to-day kind of stuff, you get on each other's nerves, you fight about things like communication. Like, there are certain things that like happen the day-to-day of relationship, but like the base fundamentals of what you both want, if they're not the same, there's like, it's just going to show up in every other aspect of your relationship. Right. Because you're just different people. Cut your losses. Yeah. And also, as a school counselor, I feel like you, of all people, should know that trauma bonding with someone is not the way to start a relationship.
Oh, she knows. She knows.
That's why she included it. I'm like, that's like, you need, like, come on. No. We're going to take a quick break and we will be right back.
As a podcast network, our first priority has always been audio and the stories we're able to share with you. But at Realm, we also sell some pretty cool merch, and organizing that was made both possible and easy with Shopify. When you think about successful businesses like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, an often overlooked secret is the business behind the business that makes selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. That's because nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret that's definitely worth talking about is that Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%. That's more happy customers and way more sales going. If you're hoping to grow your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
Okay, we are back from our break, and let's get into the rest of the calls.
Hey, girlies. I am a 23-year-old Sagittarius. My friend in this story is 21 and is a Gemini, and she's dating a 20-year-old who's a Cancer. Okay, so my friend has always been the type of person to just jump from one relationship to another, and whoever she's dating, she just completely falls head over heels in love with them and believes that she's going to marry them, be with them forever, which is normal, I guess. Everyone does. But her boyfriend texted me the other day saying he's planning on proposing to her. I genuinely think that they're rushing into something that doesn't need to happen yet. I really do think that they're making a mistake. I just think that's a really bad idea. I want to mention that I obviously am jealous. I acknowledge that I'm jealous. I'm in a long-term relationship and we aren't planning on getting engaged until we're more financially stable. Currently, my friend does not have a job and her boyfriend is finishing his senior year of college. I know there's really nothing I can do in this situation. I should just be quiet and supportive because it's my friend. But something about this just doesn't seem right to me. Any advice is welcome. Feel free to rip into me. I know I'm probably being a jealous bitch, but I feel like I have to protect my friend because I genuinely think this is a mistake. Okay. Love you guys. Been here since day one. You guys are the bomb. Later.
All of those nice things I can forgive you for saying girly at the start.
Ugh, twice.
I just feel like you're trying to recruit me for a pyramid scheme when you call me girly.
Hey, girly.
Like, it's so and I know you don't mean it this way. Like, you said it in a very earnest way, but I've never, if I've ever called anyone girly, if you're listening, it's been condescending. Like, I'm not being
I
nice.
can't even see that coming out of your mouth.
That's what I mean. Like, I think I've only ever done it when someone's messaged me saying like, hey, girly, like, just want to let you know that like Republicans are really great people and like Trump supporters have like wonderful morals. And then I go, hey, girly, shut the fuck up, you lying piece of shit. Like, that's the only time I can see myself saying, hey, girly.
Gotcha.
Here's the thing. I think it's great and like so like self-aware of you to recognize that you're jealous and like you and your boyfriend are like, the thing is you and your boyfriend are like, oh, we want to wait till we're more financially stable. And like the circumstance which you've described your friend and her boyfriend seems quite similar to the situation of you and your boy. Like, it doesn't seem like they're crazy financially stable or they have all this other stuff. So I can see how that feels frustrating because you wouldn't make that choice, but that's not everybody's choice. I mean, like, people get married who have no money and get engaged who have no money. Like, that's very, very okay. It just depends on people's priorities and like what they want. And I think you're just jealous because like, what's wrong with this dude?
I think one part of it is, though, that she said at the beginning of the call that everybody that her friend meets, she's head over heels in love with them from the jump. I think that's the biggest problem. But
and
now
do we know how long they've been dating?
She didn't really say, but I think that's the problem. And then this guy, seems like he's the same type of person. So maybe they're a match made in heaven. Maybe it is too soon. But that's not for you to judge.
Yeah. And she said they're Cancer and Gemini, which if her friend's a Gemini. Yeah. And she's dating a Cancer. This is very Gemini behavior. I mean, it's also like, you know, we're not diehard. I'm not a diehard astrology believer, but like sometimes it is.
I am.
Yeah, leave that in the reviews. It's Melissa. Melissa loves astrology. She's obsessed. But it can be hard to like try and protect your friend from their mistakes. But like some like that's just also kind of how some people are. And like there doesn't have to be anything wrong with that if they don't see anything wrong with that. Like that's just, some people are people who like fall hard, fast and quick. And like, while someone on the outside who's not in that relationship and that's not how you behave, not how I behave, that's something that like I would be like, oh, I would want to change it about myself. But like, your friend doesn't necessarily want to. Like, people can be okay and comfortable with those traits that like we wouldn't be cool with, and something that we would really want to stray away from. But like you said, like, you can't stop. Like, she has to figure this kind of stuff out on her own, and it might work out, it might not. But I think the feelings are rooted in jealousy, I think, a bit. And then I think also you think that they're being stupid with their choices, because it's not the choices that you and your boyfriend have decided to make. Like, because you're being like, oh, well, financially and all of this kind of stuff, that it feels like everybody else should be kind of thinking that way too. And it's hard when a close friend isn't doing what you would want them to do.
And maybe she's not even ready to get married.
Yeah. Maybe she's like, oh, fuck, no, that's way too soon. Like, I don't want to do that, blah, blah, blah. And also they can be engaged for a long time, but like, why does he, I'm curious how long they've been dating, because if he's trying to do this like so fast and you feel like it's so rushed, is he going into the army? And if you're going to set fire to a relationship, you got to be prepared for what the backlash might be.
Have fun being a bridesmaid.
Yay. Woohoo. Should we go on to the next?
Yeah.
Hi, Megan and Melissa. I have a problem with an ex. So he's in the military, but he came back for like a month. He's like still here. And I haven't seen him, but he's been causing like a lot of issues in my life. When we were dating, he was like really manipulative and like emotionally abusive. So what happened is that he started causing trouble with my boyfriend and his friends at first. And they were like all mad at us for like absolutely no reason. And they started targeting me and calling me like a whore and that I'm useless. And then since my ex is friends with my old friends that I cut off, he got them, because my boyfriend was saying that he was going to beat my ex up, which was totally dumb. But he got them to start talking to my boyfriend. And for some reason, it wasn't even about like him saying that stuff. It was about me and how it was crazy and toxic. And like, they were telling him all this stuff, like while I was like sitting right next to him, so I could hear everything that they were saying. And I wouldn't say that. And they said the reason why I was toxic is because I was like, I talked crap about my boyfriend, which is not true. I tell him exactly like what happened, that he was manipulative and that he cheated on me and emotionally abusive and all this stuff. So it was just crazy. And I thought it was going to be all over because all of that happened in one weekend, but it wasn't over, because then my ex started showing up to my work like multiple times. And he knew I was there because I would see him looking at me and I would not say anything. And I thought it was so creepy. And he said that he was there to like see my friend, but like he would always show up. And the last time he actually like tried to talk to me, and I was like, no, I'm not dealing with this. And he also started trying to fuck all of my new friends. So that's been great. He actually succeeded with one of them. But any advice how to deal with this would be great, because it's crazy and I just want him to leave. So thanks. Love the podcast.
Hi, this is Rob Benedict.
And I am Richard Spate. We were both on a little show you might know called Supernatural.
It had a pretty good run, 15 seasons, 327 episodes.
And though we have seen, of course, every episode many times, we figured, hey, now that we're wrapped, let's watch it all again.
And we can't do that alone, so we're inviting the cast and crew that made the show along for the ride. We've got writers, producers, composers, directors, and we'll of course have some actors on as well, including some certain guys that played some certain pretty iconic brothers.
It was kind of a little bit of a left field choice in the best way possible.
The note from Kripke was, he's great, we love him, but we're looking for like a really intelligent Duchovny type.
With 15 seasons to explore, it's going to be the road trip of several lifetimes. So please join us and subscribe to Supernatural Then and Now.
I mean, we all know how I feel about this genre in itself. God, what a fucking piece of, like, a bored piece of shit. Like, first of all, like, to address your like him trying to fuck your friends thing, if your friends are those are not your friends, and like, just like, you don't have to try and, if your friends know the situation, know this is your toxic ex, to be fair, regardless if it was like toxic or he cheated on you or anything like that, I'm not going to fuck any of my friends' exes. And any of your friends who like need a reason not to fuck your ex are not your friends. Like, you don't need to like convince them not to. Like,
yeah.
And it sounds like you went through, like, you've gone through a group of friends, which it's really hurtful when like you go through a lot of shit and then people take the side of the person who like caused you so much harm. But you don't need to settle for like shitty friends at all. Up until the point when you were saying that he showed up at your work, I was like, you just need to block his number, and like you and your boyfriend need to not answer anything that he does. But like, this is like a different level.
Yeah. And he might have like emotionally manipulated her friends too. Like, we already know that he's a manipulator.
No, that's, I mean, I'm just curious because if it's your old friend group was all friends with him and this new friend group, do they know him? Like, have they heard of him?
Like, how did he find them? Also, we're in a pandemic.
Yeah.
How does he know that they're your friends?
Yeah. I'm curious about that. But here's the thing. Like, people like this want attention and they want a reaction out of you. So like, your gut instinct of just like not acknowledging him is spot on. That's exactly what you should do, is like, just don't engage. If he fucks one of your friends, you just don't like, there's no blow up. There's no any of that stuff. Like, it's just like, fucking ignore all of that because he'll eventually get bored. But if you're worried about like your physical safety and and you feel physically in danger, that's a different story. And then that's when you, in general, I think you should let your boss know, or your manager, whoever you work with, say, hey, I have like a horribly manipulative, awful ex-boyfriend who's been showing up here all the time. And I just like don't feel really comfortable. So like, if like at the end of the workday, if you could like walk me to my car, or if you have to like go out anywhere where he would be, like, just so somebody knows, and that also, so it's not so isolating. But if he like is, the thing with I don't know what state you're in, but a lot of the times restraining orders is multiple times, and they have to be like on your like threatening physical harm, which is like a huge issue because most of the time people who are like abusive or whatever, just their presence is a threat, and like, you know that, but like they need to like explicitly say that they're going to hurt you. But depends on what state you're in. But if you are like worried for your safety, I would cut off anybody who has any access to him. Like, make sure that he's blocked on all your socials as well as like your boyfriends and stuff, so he's not seeing where you are or any of that. And then I would also like file a police report about it and like let your manager know. And if you're at a place where you can like switch, if you're at like a job that has like multiple branches or locations, if you can like switch that or anything. But I think if you don't give him any attention, I think eventually he will get bored and he'll move on to somebody else, because people who are this like manipulative and toxic, like, this is who they are, and they feed off of that power and control. And if he doesn't have that power and control over you, he's going to move on to someone who he will have power and control over.
Yeah. And also, like, if he's in the military, isn't he going to leave at some point too?
You would
think. Like, active military.
Doesn't he have to get married or something? Like, sorry.
But we don't want that on any other. No,
not at all. But like, that's the thing that like, when you hear of lots of like the stereotype of like toxic military dudes who like cheat on their like people, it's like, oh, I want to get married for the benefits and X, Y, and Z, and then I'm going to treat them like shit. So you would think that he would move on to get some benefits. Yeah, this is awful.
This is terrible.
Like, yeah, I think like, as like, focus on your relationship with you and your boyfriend. Like, if he feels confident and comfortable in your relationship and he's like not like worried and they're not getting into his head, I think it's also like important usually to admit in relationships that like are toxic, when you are in a toxic relationship, inevitably you will also take on some toxic traits because that's what gaslighting does. Like that's why like people gaslight you into like making you think that you're crazy. And so then you start accusing them of doing stuff that they're accusing you of doing something that they're actually doing. And then you start getting paranoid and you start it's a whole cycle. So like if there are things that like you're not necessarily like proud of, or like you're like, yeah, that was not like a great choice. Like I think as long as you're honest with your like boyfriend that you're like, yeah, this relationship was awful. He was horrible to me. And like, it definitely got it like in my head. And like, there are things that I'm not proud of, but like in the context of all of this, like you've seen that that's not our relationship. So as long as he feels comforted in like, you guys are solid, then you just have to worry about like your own physical safety. And then you just don't give him any attention. Because again, he eventually will move on to someone who he can have power and control over. And right now he's trying to assert, and like he's floundering. Like he can't get the power and control over you. So then he goes to your boyfriend, tries to take that away from you. That doesn't work. Then goes to your friends, tries to take that away from you. And like
goes
eventually
to your work.
Yeah. He's going to run out of things. Like he's like right now, as you can see, he's already going through that list.
What a piece of shit.
What a piece of fucking shit. God, get a fucking hobby. Ugh. Don't blame them time. This is where we have one of our callers who has advice that pertains to a previous episode. No, one of our listeners has advice for one of our callers from a previous episode. Wow, that was like actually a great way to phrase it. And I've never done it like that. And we've been doing this for fucking years. God damn it.
So the original call was in season 7, episode 6. And the original caller was going off to college, and her best friend was like trying to go to the same college as her, and the girl wants a clean break. So here's somebody sharing their experience.
Hi, I was calling in for a don't blame them for the call on the most recent episode about the friend that is following you to college or thinking about going to the same college or wanting to be roommates. And I actually, when I was looking at I just graduated from college last year. And when I was looking for colleges, I specifically looked for colleges that didn't have people from our high school going to them because I really wanted that growth opportunity and the chance to be independent. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. And so it sounds like for this caller that there's just a difference in expectations of what you both want out of college. And it sounds like the caller is really wanting an independent, growing opportunity, the chance to meet new people. And I think that framing it as that to your friend that wants to room with you and wants to do all these things with you is a way that could potentially prevent hurt feelings by just saying, I think we want different things out of the college experience overall. And I want to go and meet new people, and I want to go have all these new opportunities. And you're more than welcome to come to the same college as me. However, I don't want to be kind of chained to you because I want this opportunity to be independent and kind of prove myself as responsible. And I think that prevents it from being more of a I don't want to room with you because I don't like who you are type of thing, or I'm worried about how we would work in a roommate dynamic. So I think that framing it that way might be helpful. And good for you. Good for you for wanting to be independent and go to a college where you don't know anybody. It was the best thing I ever did. I do not regret it at all. And so I wish you the best of luck. And I hope that this little piece of perspective is helpful. Bye.
There's two different kinds of people who want two different kinds of college experiences. Well, that's it for our episode. We hope you enjoyed. If you want to leave us a review on the Apple Podcast app, we always appreciate it. We also appreciate when you follow us online, not in person, social distance. Don't even try to come near us. You don't even know where we are. Both of our socials are always listed down below. And if you want to call in for an upcoming episode, you can leave us a voicemail at 310-694-0976. International listeners, you can send us an audio message at meghanpodcast@gmail.com. Same goes for anyone who has updates. And if you want to watch the video version of the podcast, we are on Patreon. It's $1 a month. That's it. Only $1. And if you want to really support our show, which we appreciate so much, $5 a month, we do 2 Zoom live streams, which is a really fun time hanging out. It's a great way to like be a part of the community and also support our show. And speaking of community, our Facebook group is open. If you would like to join, please join. If you don't know the answers, stop applying. If you can't answer one of the questions, don't apply. Don't say, I don't know, but I really love this podcast. Not how it works.
Doesn't get you points. Don't send us DMs.
We do get messages from people who, one of the requirements is you need to have like some public socials. And I do understand that some people are in like professions where that's like not something that they can do. The issue is with that, like, I don't want to be like, sorry, you can't join the group. But the issue is we can't verify your identity. Mm-hmm. And so when you're like, oh, well, I'll send you this other thing. Like I need to know what your pictures are. I need to see that these are the same people in these pictures. Need to like cross-reference that kind of stuff. And like we essentially do background checks on everyone who joins because we need to make sure that the group is like a safe place for people, because people are very personal, very vulnerable, and open with a lot of things that they're actively going through in their life that like we can't have people tracing them. We also have like people, like a list of names of whether it's like family members or previous partners, like abusive kind of where we have to make sure that you're not one of those people posing as somebody else. And if you can't have a public profile, I would just say apply on like a Monday or something, or over a weekend or on one day, and say, I'm going to leave my social, and write in your description, I'm leaving my socials public for one day and then I'm going to private them. And then if I see that and they're private again, I'll message you and be like, open them back up so I can see, and this kind of stuff. But I understand not having like a consistently public, open social media profiles for everything, but
we can't verify, and it's to protect everybody in the group, including you.
Yeah, exactly. And so like you're protecting yourself and like not having public profiles, but like we need to have that. And that's, and like we have like extenuating circumstances of like people who don't have, like we require you have like profile pictures and all of that stuff like on, like we've had like public conversations with a couple of members who don't, just because they're like, they've posted their tagged photos and they've shown this kind of stuff or whatever. But like, there's like extenuating circumstances that we have a group of collective agreed, like, okay, this is something that we're okay with, but we're not okay with not verifying the people who are in the group. And once you join, you will see, because like, it's a wonderful, lovely place. Everybody's great. Like, it's fantastic. And also, if you get kicked out of the group because you are inactive and you immediately reapply, I will actually block you, because all that to me says that you will just lurk. And you have never liked, commented, fucking hearted a single goddamn thing. But the day that I remove you from the group, you reapply again. You're checking on this. That means that you immediately saw that you weren't in the group, meaning that you always come back. And that you are active on Facebook, but not in the group. Yep. I don't know how much clearer we can make this. Oh, and I can't the last thing I'll say on the public profiles, do not send me your baby if there's no fucking pictures of you, your dog, or your business account. Again, like I just think of it as like reverse catfish. Like we have to verify all of this information. So, that's pretty much it. Okay. We will, see you guys next time. Bye. Goodbye. Don't Blame Me is a production by me, executive produced by Melisa D. Monts, edited by Katrina Henning, and music by Ryan Hunter and Giacomo Picasso.
Do you love Disney? Then you are going to love our hit podcast, Disney Countdown. I'm Megan, the Magical Millennial.
And I'm the Dapper Danielle.
On every episode of our fun and family-friendly show, we count down our top 10 lists of all things Disney. There is nothing we don't cover.
We are famous for rabbit holes, Disney-themed games, and fun facts you didn't know you needed, but you definitely need in your life. So if you're looking for a healthy dose of Disney magic, check out Disney Countdown wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the small town of Chinook, where faith runs deep and secrets run deeper. In this new thriller, religion and crime collide when a gruesome murder rocks the isolated Montana community. Everyone is quick to point their fingers at a drug-addicted teenager, but local deputy Ruth Vogel isn't convinced. She suspects connections to a powerful religious group. Enter federal agent V.B. Laureau, who has been investigating a local church for possible criminal activity. The pair form an unlikely partnership to catch the killer, unearthing secrets that leave Ruth torn between her duty to the law, her religious convictions, and her very own family. But something more sinister than murder is afoot, and someone is watching Ruth. Chinook, starring Kelly Marie Tran and Sanaa Lathan. Listen to Chinook wherever you get your podcasts.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Buntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I study the secrets of the divine plagues and uncover the blasphemous truth that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Buntwine, wherever podcasts are available.
Hey, are you ready for some real talk and some fantastic laughs? Join me, Megan Rinks.
And me, Melissa D. Monts, for Don't Blame Me, But Am I Wrong?
We're serving up 4 hilarious shows every week designed to entertain and engage and, possibly enrage you.
And Don't Blame Me, we dive deep into listeners' questions, offering advice that's funny, relatable, and real.
Whether you're dealing with relationship drama or you just need a friend's perspective, we've got you.
Then switch gears with But Am I Wrong, which is for listeners who didn't take our advice and want to know if they are the villains in the situation.
Plus, we share our hot takes on current events and present situations that we might even be wrong in our lives. Spoiler alert, we are actually quite literally never wrong.
But wait, there's more. Check out See You Next Tuesday, where we reveal the juicy results from our listener polls from But Am I Wrong?
And don't miss Fisting Friday, where we catch up, chat about pop culture, TV, and movies. It's the perfect way to kick off your weekend.
So if you're looking for a podcast that feels like a chat with your besties, listen to Don't Blame Me, But Am I Wrong on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.